Call it. Call it. Call it and see if you can get in. I couldn't joke it.
Let me see if I can get Mr. Maven.
The board member, so Philip is going to try to get in by phone. Bob, you sit there with your shirt, tie, and everything on. You have
Okay. We're back
suit
working.
that you-
We're back working, Ray.
Are we close to a quorum?
We're trying to get Mr. Maven. We're trying to get in touch with Mr. Maven.
Okay, I'll be back.
I mean, we have a quorum, but we still trying to get Mr. Maven on.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Maven, this is Philip. Are you still not able to dial that number and get access? Okay, it's 565-636-8535. Okay, try one more time. If it doesn't work, I will call you on my city phone. I mean city desk phone, and put you on speaker so that you can hear the conversation. Okay.
Philip, we can also try just canceling this one and creating a new one and sending it out right away.
No, I don't want to do that because I got too many people on the line to cancel and start all over again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we already,
okay.
already on here, so we have a quorum. So let me just try to.
Philip, there might be a way going into the show participants to put in the number of the person we want to call in.
Hold on, let me see. Show participants. Hold on.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Okay, I see show participants. Don't see Mr.
There's a line at the top that says invite someone or dial a number. I think you can put their phone number in and it'll call them. Maybe.
Okay. I don't see that link.
Right above presenters, there's a lot. It says people, and there's a bar. It says invite someone or dial a number. I think if you type their phone number in there, it'll call them.
I don't see. I see copy link, shared link, turn on notification.
How do I have that and you don't?
Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I clicked on the show participant. Invite someone or dial a number. Okay, okay? I see what you're saying. All right, so let me try it again. Let me try it again. Hold on, let me dial his number.
I couldn't hear you, Tom. You want to just come over here?
Yeah, put the number in. Okay. Hey, Miss Megan, we're trying to call you into the phone. Just hang up and see. Don't call me back. I'm trying to call you. The online system. All right, I will. All right, thanks. Okay, so I just typed this number in. Is it going to ask me something else?
Yeah. Okay, Tom is here with me. He'll just use my phone.
Hear me? Okay, whoever gave those instructions about typing his number in, I didn't recognize your voice.
Blake,
Oh, that with Casey Water.
Okay, so Blake, I just typed his number in. So do I hit just enter? Because the little dot to the side says copy info.
That was just an idea. I would just put in his number, hit enter, and see what it does.
Oh,
Seemed like a
okay.
Hail Mary.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
No, I don't think it's.
Can you hear
Let me call him on my desk line and see if he can.
Can you hear me? This is Tom.
Tom, we can hear you.
Hold up a second, Tom.
Call cannot be completed as dialed.
Be noisy for a minute.
Hello?
Mr. Maven, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear Mr. Malone? Mr. Malone, would you just ask him if he can hear you, please?
Sure. Well, Ray Malone here. Can you hear me? It's garbled, but I can hear him.
Okay. I apologize, Mr. Maven. This is right now. I'm not sure why you cannot connect with that number. So I have you on my speakerphone here at my desk, and I have the rest of the board and the rest of the meeting on my computer. So if you have some questions, just say something to me, and I'll let the chair know that you have a question or comment before he makes a final decision or something of that nature.
Well, let's try.
Okay, we'll try and see how it goes.
Once again, Joe, am I clear enough now? That's a little better, Ray. Okay. I'll try to speak clear and distinct. Thank you. Okay. Today is August the 13th, 2020. Ferguson Construction.
Oops.
Ray,
You just went mute.
Did you lose me?
just went mute, Ray.
Who are they waiting for?
Mr. Malone, you just went mute, sir. Can you start all over, please?
He muted himself. You can see it on his phone. See it?
Mm-hmm.
He just muted himself. Oh no. He just turned himself off.
Okay, he's on. Nope.
Turned himself off. Michael Jens. I went to school with Jens. Okay, Mr. That's okay.
Your mic's on.
Can you?
There you go.
There you go, Ray. Mr. Malone. You're back.
Okay.
Can you start? We lost you
What?
for a minute there, sir.
One more time for the records. This is August the 13th, 2020. Ferguson Construction Board will now come to order. I'll call for a roll call. If you would indicate your name and the name of the organization in which you're representing. Chairman Ray Malone.
Adrian Foster, National Association of Women in Construction.
Bob Lohman representing the subcontracting community.
Ed DeSoignier representing heavy constructors.
Joseph Maven representing Minority Contractors Association.
Skip
Mr.
Hudson's
Malone?
also on, right? Skip also is here. Skip, do you need to unmute your phone?
Turn that off. That's better.
Mr. Malone, Mr. Maven just introduced himself, sir.
Okay, sounds good. And I know Skip is on here. We have a quorum. Skip, as soon as you're unable to unmute your phone, identify yourself. We have a quorum. I'm going to ask you if you would keep your minutes of our last meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as submitted.
I'll
Second.
second that. This is Adrian. And Mr. Malone, you're going in and out. I'm not sure where your speaker is, but it's really bad.
Okay. It's right in front of me, so I hope that it clarifies itself. I have a fan on in a moment. I'll turn it off. Okay, it's been moved to second to accept the minutes as written. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Is he here?
You gotta get to that bar. You fiddled with it 3 times, but
Skip.
I don't know. I don't.
No, Ray, you're not coming through again.
You cutting in and out, Mr. Malone, and so my suggestion for you would be you can keep the video up, mute your video, and you dial in. So that way,
Can't get in.
He can't get in that way, Dion.
okay, he can't get in that way. Okay, my
Okay.
The dial-in is
Yes,
not working.
Is that better? Is my volume any better?
it's better
Yes,
now.
sir.
Okay, let's try it from if not, something different. Who's got the projects for today?
Tom Randolph.
At this point, we're going to turn it over to Thomas Randolph for the review of the projects for today.
Just reminding the group that we're being recorded. Today's first project is 7020-5031 Martin Luther King Jr. Square Playground. Estimated price $650,000. And this project is being presented by the Parks and Rec Department. With the project leader on the line. Is there anyone here from Parks and Rec? There's no one from Parks and Rec to present this project.
Okay, let's go on to the next project. We'll come back if they come in.
Okay. Project number 2, 60XX0007, asphalt and concrete restoration, estimated $5.5 million. There's someone from Water Services on the line.
Yes, this is Rob Tiemann. I'm the project manager. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead, please.
Okay, well, this is a project. It's a annual contract that we've been doing for the last probably 8 or 10 years. And it's for restoration work for all of our projects, all of our construction work, water repairs, wastewater, stormwater. And it includes restoration of asphalt, streets, concrete, things like driveways, sidewalks, also fixing grassy area, adding topsoil, seed, sometimes sod, and then occasionally, but less often, fixing things like fences, walls, sprinkler systems. So that's the description. We do about 3,000 work orders per year. And the average cost is around $1,700 or $1,800 per location. Some of them are obviously larger, some of them are very small.
Okay. HRD, or excuse me, the project leader is recommending 13 and 3, and HRD is recommending 14 and 6. Excuse me, with the project, the scope of work is there, as noted. W as well as M work in the area of grading and seeding, and W in the areas of fencing, walls, hauling. And there are similar projects. Project one is the asphalt and concrete restoration. This project was closed in 2014. Those were 13 and 3, and it finished at 10. Second project was asphalt and concrete restoration. That project is closed.
Excuse me, can somebody put their phone on mute, because I'm hearing like every other word from HRD. So if you're not talking, put your phone on mute.
Okay, thank you. The second project was asphalt and concrete restoration. The total award was 5.5 million. Those were 13 and 3, and it finished at 17 and looks like 1. The third project was asphalt and concrete restoration. This was closed back in 2019. The award was, the goals were 13 and 3, and the final was 9 and 0. That concludes our report for this particular project.
Okay, board. Do you have any questions?
This is Adrian. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Adrian Foster, you have it.
Thank you. So I'm not quite sure how HRD and or those that were working on any of those past projects came up with this. So I actually looked at this one pretty, because I thought it would be an easier one to do. So if you type in concrete in the directory, in the MWBE directory, you'll come up with 30 WBEs and 36 MBEs. But we know that not all the firms do like concrete flat work and things like that. So then you kind of narrow that further down. And it still comes after you narrow things down and look at capacity. There would be like 4 MBEs and 4 WBEs and 2 MWBEs. So what I'm getting at is these numbers seem really lopsided. I'm really disappointed to hear, especially the one from 2019 where it came in at 9 and 0. So I definitely disagree. I don't know right off the top of my head what the right number is, but it seems like we're pretty equal in regards to the MBEs. And so these numbers need to show the equality of that. Even if it's like 10 and 8, something like that. I would welcome any of the gentlemen's inputs on this.
Mr. Malone, before you start, sir, Mr. Maven had a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Joseph. Let's make sure we can hear you.
We have the same problem every year on these types of projects because we're breaking them down into scopes. What will happen on this project is they will assign a concrete demolition replacement, and for little small projects, they'll do their own landscaping to a minority or a woman-owned concern. So what we're looking at doesn't break down in these scopes. I don't see any reason why you would have had 9 and 0 when we have WBEs who could go out and do a little sidewalk job. So it's not like you've got a long stretch of sidewalk and you could get one contractor to do your demolition in front of you. So, but I do think 13, I would recommend something into a tune of 10 and 5.
No.
interested in hearing anybody else's assessment too.
Mr. Chairman, Ed Deswanier, could I ask a question?
Sure, Ed.
Did I hear correctly that the project that came in at 9 and 0, that the goals had been set at 14 and 6?
The first one, the first project was an asphalt and concrete restoration. The goals were 13 and 3, and it came in at 10 and looks like 1. Second one was 13 and 3, came in at 17 and 1, and the third one was 13 and 3, and it came in at 10 and 0.
Okay, and so when it came in at 9 or 10 and 0, was that contractor hit with liquidated damages or anything like that for failing to meet goals?
I don't have that information in front of me, but the contractor was Superior Bowen on the last two, and the first one was Fahey.
Yeah.
I'd like to know who was the contractor on the 10 and 0, or was it 9 and 0? Sorry.
That's okay. It was 9.6, and I just rounded up to 10, and that was Superior Bowen.
Well, I think we have a problem here because we have capacity. Like I said, if I went through that whole thing, I'd be glad to send you all that. But we have 3 M's, 3 W's, and 3 MWBEs. So across the board, there is capacity at least. And so for the contractor to come up with 0 or 1, there's definitely a huge disparity on this. So I would definitely want to also see, as Ed Deswanier was saying, you know, what were the outcomes for those that came in way under, because there's a problem there. And I know we've got other projects, but I definitely want to look at this and have the HRD look into this for our next council meeting.
Well, I'd like for Philip to address it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you shed some light on this from the head of the department?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. So we just don't look at concrete as one of the availabilities. If you look here, there's at least 8 different scopes. We got asphalt, which is another area where we have availability at. We got seeding and grading, which is another area we have availability. Project management, pavement striping and signage, fencing, walls and bricks, hauling. So if you say we only have 8 firms, that I think you understated all the other areas where there's availability. So those should be factored into your considerations. And that is what we do, is that we factor all these other areas of availability too. So I'm not sure how you got to the 4 and 4, but if you just saying concrete finishing or concrete placement, I hear what you're saying, but we would say that we even have concrete suppliers. And as I stated, these other areas of scopes where you have availability. Thomas, can you look at the availability when this was done, where these other areas of availability was at?
Let me ask this in the meantime while you're doing that. I think my biggest concern at this point is the goals that were set were not met. How did they go down? I know the goals were low. Wants to.
Mr. Malone, before I answer that, what's the name? Ms. Foster, she had her hand up, or she wanted to say something. If I will follow through with a comment after I think she makes hers, if that's okay with you.
Sure, go right ahead.
I was
just interject?
Concrete as an example, but I think Philip actually proved my point a little bit more. There is capacity across all these scopes, so there is really no excuse to get a 0% on a WBE.
Well,
can I just interject real quick? This is Bridget Williams. I just wanted to make a point of order. I'm assuming Mr. Malone is acting as the chair of the board since he is.
Yeah.
He actually determines who speaks and when. So I just wanted to just make that point of order.
Thanks, Bridget. Okay, Adrian, I think, do you have your sheet in front of you, the breakdown that HRD sent to all of us?
Yes.
Okay, not Bridget, but Adrian. They're showing availability in all of the different areas in which you're speaking of, in addition to the concrete. If they took all of the concrete and all of the asphalt out, there's more availability there than the goal that's put out. So I know there's plenty areas, you know, for areas for MNWBEs to participate in the project.
I agree 100%.
Well, Philip, I'd like a comment and a question.
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Mr. Maben is asking for a comment and question.
Go ahead, Joseph.
If this work is done at a variety of different locations, we can't look at it and say that a contractor would sub out all the asphalt because there's dabs of asphalt in a lot of different locations. What it'll have to do is give an asphalt contractor a group of these, or
yes,
a flat work contractor group of these. So we can't look at them in terms of we've got availability in this scope or that. We're looking for a minority of women contractor that can do a whole scope, and that's the only way it's going to be met. While I do agree that the achievement was low, given the number of contractors that could go out and do a little demolition, put the sidewalk back, and throw some seed or a piece of sod down, but that's the way it's going to be bid. So let's not get hung up on counting availability of contractors at various scopes, because the work won't be led like that. If that makes sense.
Thanks, Joe. That's a very good comment. Good observation. And I think a little bit of that is shown in the department's breakout, in which they didn't, as we always ask, to take out a certain scope. They took out an area where you could possibly subcontract out a whole one of the jobs or a couple of the jobs. Okay. If there are not any other questions, comments you want to make on this before we go into deliberation for a go motion? Any other comments?
I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, no, but before we have a motion, I'd like to ask another question.
Okay. Before the motion is on the floor, go ahead with your question, Bob Lohman.
Philip, could you answer Ed's question? What happened with liquidated damages or anything to these previous contractors that didn't meet the goals?
Someone is on the phone. That could you please mute your phone, please, if you're not speaking. Okay. Mr. Lohman, I don't have the information in front of me as to why they did not meet goals. I can definitely go and research that if you all would give us some time to do that. Not at this meeting, before the next meeting, I could provide you with that information. I don't want to start speculating in terms of what happened here, because it could be a lot of different things that factored into that.
Well, and so this is this one, yeah. So if I could, so earlier, Mr. Maben, can you hear me okay? So earlier, Mr. Maben, based on your experience on a project like this, what do you think? Is it 14 and 6? Is it something else that is realistic?
You know, earlier I said 10 and 5. You know, it could be 30 and 30 if a contractor, but it's not attractive to minority and women contractors either if they have 10 locations where they're pouring just a couple of sidewalk squares either. So these kind of maintenance kind of jobs are tough because it's a lot of locations with not a lot of work.
I get you. All right, thank you.
But you will let that several options in its entirety subbed out MW. Someone, if you're not on the board, if you would mute your phone, and those of the board, if you will quiet the that are around, please, so we can hear. I believe Adrian Foster was about to make a motion. Adrian?
Yeah, sorry. So and I understand what Joe is saying in regards to when you bid out these projects and you have different, I mean, because we've had this before. I mean, in our several years, we've had where, you know, there's several little projects. I just see that to come up with, you know, 10 and 0 and 10 and 1 and 17 and 1, it's just, you know, we have the ability and capacity. And so if I were to say, okay, let's do, you know, 1 in 10, I'm going to hear a lot of pushback. But I think that women have the capacity to do this. I don't want to be unreasonable. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, and I'm just throw this out there, is 5 and 10. 5 MBE, 10 WBE. And let's just see what happens. I feel like the city needs to be pushed in regards to allowing women to take the lead when they have the capacity to do it. And let's try it out and let's see what happens. And I agree with Joe 100%. When you have these many different little projects, it is harder to sub them out. It's just that it's been subbed out to the M's rather than the W's.
Does anyone want to comment on that? Any of the heavy contractors want to comment on that? She's got a motion on the floor, but she also stated it with a question. She has a motion on the floor of what you say, 5 and 10. Is there a second? If there's no second, we'll enter back into discussion. Philip, would you answer a question for me? We typically have 2 areas in which we look at construction when we look at our goals and how our goals are met. We have architectural projects and we have heavy and highway contracting projects. On the MBE and WBE portions of that, availability, ready, willing, and able, how are those goals normally met? And what is the council's goal requirement for us to try to achieve?
If I'm hearing you correctly, Mr. Chairman, those would be 2 separate areas of specialization in terms of professional service goals and construction-related goals. The only time those 2 are mixed is when there's a design build project where professional service related scopes of work are included with the construction portion of work. In situations like that where there is design build, we look at both the professional service scope and construction service scope and try to make sure there's a balance between the 2 in terms of our recommendation to the board. At the end of the day, you all, you know, make a final determination about what those goals are. In terms of the overall city goals, is 14.7 for M and 14.3 for W. That's the target that we try to achieve. But that's not just with construction, that's with every dollar that the city spends. Commodities, professional service contracts, goods and service, as well as construction. So in trying to reach the 14 and 7 is based on all of the city dollars spent, not in just one area.
Can I make a comment, Philip?
Go right ahead, Joseph. Are you through, Philip?
Yes, sir. Did that answer your question, sir?
Yes. Okay. Joseph.
Adrian, I want you to understand that while you do have availability, think of the WBEs and concrete, this job I think part of the reason the achievement and the goals have been lower, it would be very attractive to a RAM because it's smaller. And as there are more MBEs and smaller guys that do this kind of work, I think that's part of the reason why the achievement has been higher there than on the WBE side. I can't think of a medium-sized WBE in contracting that could in concrete that this kind of project would be attractive to. And I think that's part of the reason the achievement has been lower. But given all of that, I would motion that the goal again be 10 and 5.
There's a motion on the floor, set the goals at 10 and 5. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and second to set the goals at 10 and 5. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Next project is set at 10 and 5.
Next project is 81000-812 wastewater treatment building, Blue River Annex. Estimated cost $2,805,506. And this project is being presented by the Water Services Department. Is the representative from Water Services on the line?
Yes, I am.
Introduce yourself and proceed, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bon Marie Gardner. I'm the project manager for this project and facilities engineering with Water Services. And this project will provide modifications to an existing warehouse and office building that Water Services has purchased. And the modifications will include building maintenance, crew offices, restrooms, locker rooms, conference rooms, and storage spaces. I've been working with Brown & Root Consultant, and they've been working with also Wellner Architects. So that's basically what's going on.
Okay, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. HRD, how do you see in the project?
Project manager is recommending 15 and 10, and HRD is recommending 15 and 10 as well, with work in the areas of the M and demolition, toilet compartments, building HVAC, building ductwork, and on the W side, HRD is showing work in electrical, lighting, for a total of 10 and 15 in the M and 10 in the W.
Thank you, Tom. Board,
now,
do you have any projects similar to this?
there was not. HRD wasn't able to find any comparable projects in B2G. There were not any similar size and that had the similar scopes of work. Typically on a building renovation project, there's been very good participation by M and W firms on the projects. There's good flexibility for the prime contractor to be able to achieve participation on the project. That concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Board, do you have any questions? Comments? If there are no questions or comments, I will entertain a motion.
This is
Mr. Chairman. Go ahead, Skip.
This is Skip Hutton, and I'd recommend that we accept HRSD recommendation of 15 and 10.
Second.
It's been moved and second to accept HRD's recommendation of 15 to 10. That was made by Skip Hutton and just one day. Next.
Are we going to vote? Right?
Got to vote.
I think it's all in favor of 10 and 5.
Aye.
Opposed? Page 7, Christina, project, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
the project leader was having issues with getting online for project number 1, and they are available now. Do you want to proceed with the next project, or do we?
You can go ahead.
Number 1 had a problem getting online. I didn't know that. Joel didn't tell me that. There you are, Cat. Come on.
Let's make sure that Rebecca Martinez or whoever's Parks and Rec are on the line now.
Yes.
Yes.
She is. Okay. We're going to go back to project number 1. Give the project number, if you would, please, Thomas.
Sure. Project number 70205031, Martin Luther King Jr. Square Playground. Estimated cost $650,000. And we have Jordan Klein here from the parks.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Okay, all right, that's good. I'm going to try to keep it. It might be hard for me to hear anything that you guys ask me just in case, because I'm going to try to keep my speakers turned down low so that it doesn't cause any feedback into the phone. So anyway, this project is for the playground that's going to be going in at Martin Luther King Jr. Square. This is the park that is located along Swope Parkway and Woodland Avenue. If some of you have driven by there, you'll probably notice it's the one with the tennis courts along Swope Parkway. Recently, we have just placed a restroom within the area, as well as new access from the parking lot, or what will eventually be the striped parking lot. Right now, it's kind of just an asphalt drive that's serving as a parking lot. This playground will be going on top of that large hill that you see behind the tennis courts up there. And so there's going to be a little bit of connection to get up there. Excuse me, I apologize. As well as a lot of concrete, surfacing, playground equipment, all brand new stuff. So pretty much my presentation.
Thank you. Thomas, can you give us HRD's point of view?
There were a couple of his projects that were completed in the past. Citywide playground. This contractor was Dale Custom Construction, and it closed back in 2018. The goals were set at 7 and 7, and they achieved 7 and 7. The second project was a playground replacement, and it was done by Bantam Construction Company. The price for that one is $570,000, and it closed back in 2012. The goals were 12 and 9, and it completed at 20 and 2, according to the document that I have. And
Okay.
HRD is recommending 11 and 5, the same as what the project leader is recommending.
Okay, board, questions?
Question,
Comment.
Mr. Chairman.
Mrs.
Is this a prevailing wage project, yes or no?
It is, Mr. Deswanier. We missed checking that box.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make an observation that on a $650,000 job, almost $450,000 of it is material, leaving about $200,000 of subcontractable work. So the goals set, even that are recommended, would be over 50% of the work on the project. And that just seems a little excessive to me.
Can I comment?
Mr. Maben.
And to carry that theme, when you look at, do we have anyone that for safety, do you take the material cost out? You're looking at $100,000 between equipment installation and the safety service installation. And we have contractors that can install surfacing, safety surfacing. I just
Yes,
think it's too high also.
we do have M&WBs in that area. And there's a project, where if you think about the soccer field that has a lot of the asphalt turf out there, it's similar in nature that what we're talking about here in terms of some of the playground equipment, that I know at least 1 or 2 WBs were instrumental in working on that particular project there.
And what makes this even worse, if you take the concrete out of it, I just think something in the realm of 7 and 7 or 5 and 5 would be better.
I got a question before you, if you're thinking you didn't put a motion. Is it likely, and this is going back either to Parks or either to HRD, that the person installing the safety surfacing materials, are they likely to be the supplier as well?
Thank you.
Philip, answer that.
Jordan
You were-
Klein, are you still on the line?
Yes, Jordan, did you hear that question?
Yeah, I think at least let me restate it just to make sure that I did hear it correctly. Was the question, is the person that provides the safety surfacing material likely to be the one that installs it?
Yes.
Okay. No, I think not necessarily. It kind of depends on the surfacing. I think there is a certification that comes along with playground installation, though. So I don't believe that you have to be the supplier to be the installer as well.
Okay. Okay. That again, because I'm looking at it under availability, and surely if I'm going to have it installed.
Mr. Chair, I've got something.
Sure. If I'm not going to have my installer supply it, taking the full responsibility, I just don't see where that would be an availability area. Go ahead, Adrian.
I agree with Joe and Bob Lohman. Bob's always good with these numbers. I would be agreeable to something like 7 and 7 as well, since that's what was done in one of those projects.
Ms. Adrian, if you look at the math, that doesn't solve the problem. That's still 50% of the job would be subcontracted to minorities and women.
Bob, what would you suggest, sir?
My math would say I'd make a motion to accept 2 and 2 on the project.
You know, because the whole project could go to a minority as far as that part is concerned.
Good.
Yeah.
100%. That's a small project.
Every company that bids this.
Say that again, Joseph.
I think it'll be a small concrete contractor that bids this.
Yeah. And that could be a minority. So we're looking at subcontracting portions of it. I'm looking at the way the ordinance reads now is that the minority, if he's supplying and doing the job, he's counting 100%. Am I correct?
Yes, if he's a supplier and installed, he gets, if he's a supplier and gets installed, he gets to count 100% of that. If he's just applying, it's just 60%.
Yes, but I'm saying a project of that size, that's very likely that you're going to get the MRWBE who's going to bid on that as a general.
Agree.
Yes, sir. It's a small project that would create that opportunity.
Okay. Okay, board, it's in your court, board. What do you recommend? You accept HRD department, or would you like to set a go?
I'd still be willing to make a motion to set a goal of 2 and 2.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to set the goal at 2 and 2 by Bob Lohman and second by Skip Hutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
4 ayes and 1 no. Ayes have it. Next project, the project goal is set at 2 and 2.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, before we go to the next project, could I just ask a question here?
Yes, sir. The board.
The next three projects are sidewalk projects, and in looking at them, it's unless there is something I'm not seeing, okay? The goals on these next three jobs are all over the map. We're going,
right.
We're going from 15 and 11 on one, 14 and 9 on the other, and 7 and 7 on the last one. And I mean, just the inconsistency is just so glaring. I'm just have to ask why.
Is that what someone from the department want to take a second?
So, Mr.
And while we're pondering that, I'm concerned that the breakdown of the are not relevant to each other. Don't include surveying, driveways, either side, ADA ramps, erosion control, or even traffic control. And one does. So,
I see so many more scopes of work in project number 4 than in 5 and 6. The dollar amount is actually right in between the two, or lower actually than the other two. But the scopes of work are so many more scopes.
and the description.
Anybody from FICB want to put a stab at Ed Soignier's question?
I'm sorry, Mr. Malone and Mr. Soignier. So we recognize that too and asked the department if they could break that down more, and we did not get any response back on those. So I'm assuming that there is someone here from Public Works, these two project lead managers, and if it's Mr. Chairman, that will probably explain why one broke it down in more detail than the other ones.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. This is Mario Vasquez. I am the project manager for project 8902-0329. The reason I think that you might see a breakdown, a difference in the amount of breakdown that we provide between these two projects is depends on how the projects are conceived. The project that I have in front of you is designed by outside consulting, and it provides, as a result, we come up with a much more detailed breakdown of the scope of work, as opposed to some of the other projects that are sometimes on in-house design, and they're not quite as detailed. And they're also, the other projects are more so of a maintenance in nature, whereas the one that I am presenting to you is really new construction, as opposed to being a replacement, for example. So, and that's why I think we can provide you with a much more detailed breakdown between the two scopes of work, between the two types of projects. You know, a replacement job will not have a surveying or staking and that, or something like that. But you know, like I said, our job, the one that I'm presenting to you, has a lot more detail because of the outside consulting design.
Thank you. Ed, does that help any?
No. On the jobs that are done in-house, is there erosion control? Are there driveways? Is there any landscaping? Are there any ADA ramps? I mean, I don't know that it's apples to apples yet, is what I'm trying to say.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and the board. This is Uday Manepalli, the project manager and engineer for the other two projects which I mentioned. At this point, we are still designing, and the details for those projects are not at hand yet. So, like, definitely we have driveways, we have ADA ramps, and so on and so forth. But when you look at it at a big picture, they all come under concrete replacement. And at this point, as I said, we don't have all those details like the other project, and that's why it is not broken into those details.
But you do understand that we're looking for availability of minority and women contractors, and in all those things mentioned, we do have availability. So it just makes it a tad more difficult for us to set a goal on them, is the point I'm trying to make.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Adrian.
So with that being said, on what Joe is saying, is maybe 5 and 6 is a month too early.
Huh?
I was just saying maybe projects number 5 and 6 are to the board too early until we can see all scopes, or at least more scopes than what we're seeing now.
Don't we do this every year? I mean, what makes these two projects so different from geobond sidewalks, curb and gutter that we do every year?
Yeah.
Whether they're designed in-house or not.
They are. It's a similar type of project, but the funding mechanism is different. But it is both replacement projects.
So, Mr. Chairman, Thomas, what have we been doing on the geo bond sidewalk projects?
That's a Mr. Gelder question. I would like to defer to him.
Well, I can give you what we've the historical data that we have for sidewalks. I know we have that in our presentation, or in our that we have before you now. In terms of the overall geo bond, Mr. Deswanier, I know those projects either come to you all for goal setting, or they are recommended for SLBE. I do not have the specific dollar value of what has been contracted out to date for geo bonds. If you like, I can definitely have something for you by the next board meeting in terms of the overall dollar spent on those projects pertaining to sidewalks, streets, and resurfacing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what percentage goals. I think we've been fairly consistent in terms of the goal numbers that we've set on those projects. And that's really my question.
How much is the dollar amount of the project? Mr. Chair, this is Bridget. Can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
First project, Bridget, is 411,000. That's project number 4. Our project number 89020329. It's pretty well detailed and broken out. And it's a little bit different than the other two. Dollar-wise, close, but detailed, it's not quite as much. I think a lot of the work is not there because one project is total new construction, and other is more or less remodeling, I believe you said it was.
So I hate to delay these projects, but I do agree with Adrian in that these projects should not be coming to the Fairness Board without the detailed information. I mean, we cannot make an informed decision. And with MBE, WBE being at the forefront of almost every discussion the council is having, as a Fairness Board, we need to be able to defend and justify why we did what we did. Okay. So I would say, that should come forward when there's more detailed information.
Okay. All right. Let me say this. I agree when there's not enough information. Board, look at project number 89020329. Do you feel that there's enough breakdown information on that project?
Wait a second. Which one?
Yes, that's the first one. Project 4.
The Marlboro, package 3.
Yes. Oh, is that only 3?
Yeah. The question was never answered.
Which question?
What goals have we been setting on geobond sidewalk work? even though we don't have finished information, what goals have we set? Because they've all been about alike.
Mr. Chairman, if I can answer, this is Uday Manipali, the same project manager for the GeoBond programs. Usually, the last two projects which were approved were somewhere between 13 and 11 for MBE and 8 and 7 for WBE, if I remember them correctly.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're back to HRD. Present your project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry.
So are we, Brother Chair, have we made it, have the board made a decision on 890200329?
Please present it.
Okay. This project is for Marlboro Package 3 Hickman Mills. The estimated cost is $411,000. Is Mr. Mario Vasquez here to comment any further on this project?
Yes, I am. Mr. Chair, Mario Vasquez again, Public Works Department Project Manager. This project consists of the construction of new sidewalk from 77th Street South to about 80th Street on Hickman Mills on the west side of the road. The intent of this project is to provide sidewalk access and pedestrian access to the new green infrastructure site there on Rachel Morado Drive and 77th Street. The project includes quite a bit of removal of pavement and also construction of some special sidewalks with integral retaining walls. I think based on the work that we've done in the past of similar nature, I think our recommendation and how we're seeing the contractors structure their contracts, I think goals of 13 and 8 have been recommended by staff, by Public Works staff.
Let us know how you saw the project. Thomas Randolph.
Yes.
Give me your assessment.
Okay. HRD is recommending 13 and 8 on the M side with work in the area of demolition, surveying / staking, and on the W side, work in the area of earthwork and grading, utility adjustments, erosion control, and sod. We found similar projects. One was closed back in 2019. The contract was for $304,000. The goals were 15 and 7, and it attained 15 and 6. Second project, citywide sidewalk, which was closed in 2018. The total cost of the project was $702,795. The goals were 14 and 9, and they achieved 14 and 9. In this particular project, it appears to be work available in all the crafts that were presented and noted by HRD in the areas of earthwork, concrete, driveways, ADA ramps. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Tom. HRD has shown that they agree with the department on the areas in which they're shown and showed availability in all of the other areas. Are there any questions from the board? If there's questions, go right ahead.
Sorry, I don't know. Thank you.
Go ahead. Sure.
I guess my only point on this is that if we always set the goals for higher MBEs than WBEs, then the historical data is always going to show more MBE achievement than WBE. And I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record today, but I just think that some of these things are pretty obvious to me. And I just want to continue to bring that up because Bridget brought it up. And in a lot of the conversations, they're talking about MWBE. And if they could always say, well, hey, your representative on Fairness in Construction's not brought this up to anyone's attention. So I know in the last 3 this meeting and the last two meetings prior to, I hope I don't sound, I'm being annoying, but I'm just trying to put these out there so that everybody hears it. So that's all I would say.
And Mr. Chairman, this is Bridget.
Bridget,
I think to that point, you know, the ordinance now speaks to minority women can select whether they bid as an MBE or WBE. So on one hand, I mean, at the end of the day, in many respects, you're talking about white women-owned companies, because minorities have the option to choose. Minority women have the option to choose either or. So it, in some ways, actually makes the pool smaller. So I do, you know, for WBEs. So I do think you have to be sensitive to that as well. That on the MBE side, it could be that the goals need to be higher because you have minority women that can select MBE. So, you know, I think maybe that might be worth the conversation at a later time. But I do agree we have to be sensitive, particularly to the women that have capacity, because we have women contractors in the association that definitely have capacity, and I don't want to limit their opportunity either.
And I certainly agree with both of you, but I'm also mindful of the fact that sometimes things that hurt you. A lot of these small ragtag pieces of jobs, more successful WBE contractors aren't interested in. And that's another consideration in terms of the goals being set smaller.
Mr. Chair.
Adrian.
With all due respect, Joe, I don't think that's a fair assessment.
Well, you're entitled to your own opinion.
Let me ask.
All I'm saying, Mr. Chair, is that the ordinance now provides an opportunity for minority women to declare both, which could skew either side. So we need to be mindful of that. At the end of the day, we're here to set goals based on capacity, not who we think will bid. So, and the playing field, in some regard, should be level. And I think that onus is on HRD to really provide to us who really has capacity to do the work that we're talking about setting goals on. And so that generally is what becomes the question. It's not really about the availability, it's about the capacity.
Would it help, Bridget, would it help if there was tracking on projects where you have available M and MWBE contractors who winds up winning the bid to know whether that MBE was a W or an M? So you might be looking at a project where it's the woman registers as an M and wind up with 10% W. So the actuality, it might be all W just mixed and you can't tell. So you would report that it was MB and WB, but in actuality, it could have been all W.
Right. I
think mechanism place to show that?
I think we need to track that, particularly for the next program.
Agree, 100%.
Okay, I think it would help a lot of the questions that Adrian has as well, because if she's concerned whether these contractors are M's or W's, and she has to report back to her people, those analysis would no doubt help her. Okay, with all of that in mind, I'll entertain a motion for this project to accept HRD's and the department's goal of 13 and 8, or do I have one from the board?
I would make a motion to accept 13 and 8.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept Department and HRD's recommendation of 13 and 8. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes. Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Randolph, you're at the helm.
Project number 89060-537 East 17th Street, Hardesty to Oakley. Estimated cost $580,000. And this project is being presented by Mr. Uday, Public Works. Mr. Uday, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Chairman and Board. Uday Manipale with Public Works. Just to provide an update with the ongoing conversation earlier, I have checked my emails. I haven't received any email from the HRD department regarding breakdown of all the details. The only email we received is, can we break this into multiple SLB projects? As it is just one location on East 17th Street between Hardesty and Oakley, and it is replacement project, we didn't recommend breaking it into multiple SLB projects. In addition to that, I personally have like 9 SLB projects presented for this year during construction. Having said that, we looked at overall project as it is a replacement of concrete work. The concrete replacement was only considered rather than breakdown of driveways, ADA ramps, and so on and so forth. And we requested goals of 14% and 9% for this particular project. I appreciate your time and consideration.
Again, the big question is that is in one location, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Tom, how do you see it?
Of course, he stated that they recommended 14 and 9. The HRD recommended the same. However, we believe the better opportunities are in construction, demolition on the M side, and landscaping. And on the W side, we agree with the trucking and hauling on the W side for 14 and 9. On the historical data, there were a couple of, one was a gold bond, was done by S&A Contracting. It closed in 2019. The goals were 15 and 7, and they attained 15 and 6. On the second project was a citywide sidewalk.
What was the dollar amount on that first?
Oh, I'm sorry, 882,688.
Thank you.
And the second project was citywide sidewalk, which also was done by S&A Contracting. It closed in 2018. And the award for that project was $702,795. The goals were 14 and 9, and they attained 14 and 9. And we again recommended 14 and 9 for this project.
Thank you, Thomas. Board, are there any questions from the board? If any questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd move to accept HRD recommended goals of 14 and 9.
Second.
It's been moved and second to accept HRD's recommendation of 14 and 9 by Mr. Desanya and Mr. Lohman, respectively. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Ayes have it. Next project.
Next project number is 890-60536. Project name Indiana Avenue, East 29th Street to East 30th Street. The estimated cost is $420,000. And Mr. Uday is up again with this particular project.
Thank you. Good afternoon again. Uday Manipale with Public Works. This project is again replacement of sidewalks on 2 streets, actually 2 blocks, from East 28th Street to East 30th Street on Indiana Avenue. We looked at it as a whole as concrete replacement, and we recommended goals of 14 and 7%, focusing MBE on construction, demolition, and concrete placement, and WBE for trucking and hauling. I'll be happy to address any questions. Thank you.
You made a statement that this project was 2 blocks. Are you sure it's not 1, 29th to 30th?
It is 28 to 30th. The project title was 29 to 30th, but it is actually 28 to 30th.
Okay, thank you for the correction. Tom, you have your remarks?
Sure. HRD is recommending 7 and 7 with modifications to on the M side for landscaping at 7%, and on the M side, and for the W, trucking and hauling, at 7%. And there were several projects that were similar to this. A sidewalk improvement on Warner Road, which closed at $373,243. Those were set at 15 and 12, Cup 21 and 18, and they achieved 28 and 4 with participation in concrete supply and hauling. The second project was on Oakley. It closed at $573,370. Goal set at 9 and 7. Cup was 9 and 7. It achieved 39 and 23 with participation in concrete and demo and landscaping. The third project was sidewalk improvements on Blue Ridge, and it closed. The cost for this project was $456,767. Goals were set at 12 and 5. The Cup was 12 and 6. They achieved 9 and 9 with participation in electrical and concrete. And on this particular project, HRD is recommending 7 and 7.
Will you go back to project number 2 that you presented, and what was the goal and what was achieved, and who was the contractor?
On this particular, you said number 2?
Yes.
It did not say who the contractor is on this particular report, but it was $573,370. The goals were set at 9 and 7. The Cup was 9 and 7. They achieved, and it says 23 and 39 and 23 participation in concrete and demo. They may have self-performed some of that work. I'm not sure. We can take a look at it and get back with you.
It was Almond Construction.
Almond Construction.
Almond Construction. So that's not our WBE contract.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
So that's yeah, that's why the achieved goal was so high. Self-participation. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. See, some of those things stick out and should be noted.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, board.
Mr. Chair, can I make a motion?
Yes, sir.
To accept Public Works Department goal of 14 and 7.
Second.
It's been moved and second to accept Public Works Department's goal of 14 and 2. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ayes have it. Go to sit at 14 and 7. Thank you. Next project.
Thank you.
Thomas, you still with me?
Okay, sorry about that. This project number is 622-10535. Rehabilitate London and Madrid. Estimated cost $2 million. This project is from the aviation department, and I believe we have the project leader on the phone. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, board. I'm LaPonzia Jones, project manager for the aviation department. This project is a mill and overlay of asphalt streets near our rental car facility and Phillips 66 gas station at KCI Airport. Also involves some concrete pavement removal and replacement, as well as the removal of concrete curbs and gutters. And we're going to replace the roadway signs. I looked at the project and I segmented out the concrete pavement at 15% MBE and the concrete curb and gutter at 10% WBE.
Okay. I'd like to have I have a question of you before we go to the board's assessment. You've done many of these projects?
Are you speaking to me, Mr. Malone?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I've been here as a project manager for 37 and a half years for the aviation department, and this is one of our typical rehabilitation projects every few years. These streets were constructed in the year of 2007, and this is the first time that they're being milled and overlaid. And typically we find that we get good participation in both the M and the W's on these projects.
Okay. Thank you. I know you have history, and I asked when I saw your goal was different as it was. I knew that you had good reasoning behind yours. Not to say that HRD doesn't, so don't get me wrong there. Thank you. Turn it over to Tom.
Okay. HRD is recommending 13 and 5 with work in concrete pavement for the M and concrete curb and gutter for the W at 5%. There were projects located, similar projects, concrete and asphalt restoration. The prime was Fahey. The cost was $7.5 million. It closed in 2015. The cup was 13 and 3 with 3 subcontractors. It closed at 14 and 1. And work was done in concrete, hauling, sewer manhole adjustments, and the second one was asphalt and concrete restoration. This was done by Superior. Cost was 5.5. This contract is currently open with 2 subs. The work in asphalt and concrete. Third project was asphalt and concrete. This one's done by Fahey. The cost was 5.2. Contract closed. It's closed, and it had 3 subcontracts, and it closed at 21 and 1. The note is that the 1 sub was unable to work on the concrete when needed, and this lowered the WE participation. And HRD is recommending 13 and 5 for this project, and that concludes our presentation on this project.
Thank you, Thomas. Board, questions?
Questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Deswanier.
Okay. So you look at this job and who's going to take this job and who are the contractors that Thomas just read off? They're asphalt contractors. So
Yes.
It's going to be an asphalt contractor that takes this work. Asphalt contractors will also do the curb and gutter because they have the machinery already to do it and the expertise on with their jobs. So to take and propose to sub out curb and gutter to somebody else, you're going down the wrong road. You're wishful thinking. My question is, and the concrete pavement could be subbed out. No question about it. Probably the 300,000. My question is in regards to these roadway signs. You've got availability here. What are we talking about in terms of $200,000 worth of roadway signs? And is that something a WBE could do?
HRD, you're showing availability in both of those. Could you answer this question, please?
Thomas, are you there?
I'm sorry, we had muted. This was actually my project, and I do know that there are sign companies available that could possibly take on being a vendor to take care of the sign contract.
Okay, let me ask this question. Ed, that's a very good question. Let's jump back up to the department itself. You have 200,000 in there. Who typically does that on these type of projects? Well, we're waiting to see if we have any MWBE contractors.
I'm sorry, repeat that question, Mr. Malone.
Well, I was going back to Ms. Jones, but I was asking you why you come up with availability. You're showing availability who are the contractors that are available to provide roadway signs?
Oh, I didn't print those out. What we do is go and look at sign companies. There are several companies that are in the business of producing signs. I know there are probably signs that have to meet certain federal and state standards, but so I saw that they did signs.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Before you go, Ed, this one, you had the question. Does that answer your question, Ed?
Well, yeah, in part it does, because see, I think I could live with the aviation's recommended goals of 15 and 10 with the understanding, based on a little bit more reality, that the concrete curb and gutter is not going to be done by a subcontractor. It just isn't done that way. Okay.
Yeah.
So to list it that way, but if you've got WBE companies that could do the roadway signs, then fine. I mean,
Well,
I know that we're not trying to pick and choose and say this is the only place that they can get it. So I agree with you. Perhaps maybe there is none out there, general contractor that would sub those out. Perhaps maybe would sub out the roadway signs. I think that's what you're getting at. That was one of the reasons I wanted to know if there is some availability that we could speak to.
but there's other considerations. The asphalt milling, the asphalt pavement, even the concrete placement doesn't include, if we had broken out the hauling head, you might feel more comfortable with it. And we need to ask LaPonzia whether or not any minority or woman-owned companies, is it the kind of roadway signing that the signing companies we have would pursue? It's not over the roadway signing, is it? That would be important in no area as whether or not we have anyone that could do the signing. But if we had broken out the hauling, you might be more comfortable with the 15 and 10.
And even landscaping.
Yeah, gotta be tough.
That's right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Adrian.
So I would be on going on with what Ed was saying there. I'd love to hear from the aviation department, because she said something there that she's got a lot of participation for MWBE, and it's been a while since they've done this, and so that's where she came up with the 15 and 10. So I was wondering if she could comment.
This is LaPonzia Jones with the Aviation Department. When I looked at the curb and gutter, with it being concrete, I looked at it being done by a concrete contractor and not the prime, who would be an asphalt paving contractor. The curbs are in concrete. So I looked at that being a separate contractor doing that, and I said there were women out there that could do the concrete curb and gutter. I did not break out the hauling. Typically, when I break out hauling, I will go 25% of whatever the asphalt pavement cost is. In this case, that would put it at $250,000.
Okay. Okay.
And what kind of signing it is, just for our knowledge?
LaPonzia.
Anything difficult about the signing?
This is LaPonzia Jones with Aviation. I am not aware of any M or W roadway sign companies.
Mr. Chair, and that's
Yes.
what I was, this is Bridget. That's what I was going to ask, is that when Thomas said he looked at a list, were they a list of certified sign companies, and were they sign companies that are capable of doing the types of signage that aviation would require?
Roadway signs, yeah, I agree.
I, of course, don't have what those signs look like, and I just don't know what they look like. But I do know that there were sign companies out there that are a few companies that do signs, and so that's
that
what
are
I
certified.
Yeah, that's all I look for, is certified at B2G.
This is LaPonzia Jones with the Aviation Department. The roadway signs that I'm talking about are your large monument signs. So they will be guiding people to the rental car facilities that will say Hertz, Avis, National, etc. There will be one at London and one at Madrid. So we are looking at installing 2 large monument signs.
Alonzo, are those the overhead signs that goes over the roadway, wayfinders? Do you know if those are overhead wayfinders, Laponza?
No, they're not they're not overhead. They're going to be off the side of the road.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, board, what's your pleasure?
I move that we accept the department's recommendation of 15 and 10.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to accept the department's recommendation of 15 and 10. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next project.
The next project is 622-00531 Park Air Parking Lot Expansion. The cost $3.1 million. And the department that's bringing this project forward is Aviation. Is Aviation with us?
Joel Taylor.
Joel Taylor? Okay.
Moving on.
Next project.
Okay.
All right, I think that concludes projects being presented by Thomas. Moving on to the agency projects. Starting off with the first one, which is going to be a TIF project, Pioneer Plaza.
Okay, listen, who you are, who's presenting, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. This is Dion Lewis with the Human Relations Department. How's everyone doing?
Thank you. Yeah, fine.
Good. Starting off with the agency projects. Starting off with a TIF project. The name of the project is called Pioneer Plaza. Let's see. I do have Sunflower Development here. It's a retail project. Hold on, let me pull this up. And they have the total proposed budget is $3.9 million. I have Sunflower Development Group online. Could you present your project, please?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Bukas with Sunflower Development Group. I'm representing the developers. This is a demolition of a prior empty Kmart building located at Bannister and Hillcrest Road. That structure will be demolished, and what will be rebuilt in its place is the shell of a roughly 49,000 square foot brand new Price Chopper grocery store. It'll also include a pharmacy and an overlay over the parking lot to improve the existing cracks in the asphalt.
Is that just west of 435?
Yes. Correct. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So HRD assessed goals, and in talking with the developer, they were in agreement with HRD's goals as they were preparing to follow up with more invitations to bid. So HRD came in at 14 and 10 at roughly $549,000 for MBE and roughly $381,000 for WBE. The scopes that we have for MBE came in at concrete foundation, asphalt, paving, exterior concrete curbs, paving. For WBE, excavation, landscape installation, carpentry, doors and frames.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Mark McHugh for Sunflower Development Group, representing the developers.
We agree with the 14 and 10 goals. We're going to get it in different scopes, but our preliminary work has indicated that we'll have no problem meeting 14 and 10.
Please don't look at these goals that are set here by HRD as areas in which you have to achieve your goals or not.
Of
They're
course.
just in where availability that they see it as, and there are other areas. So you agree you don't have to get in those areas. Thank you. Board.
Chairman.
Sure. Questions from the board.
Do these goals include tenant finishing?
They do not.
Can you repeat that, Bridget? I didn't hear you.
I asked if the goals included tenant finishing because, quite frankly, that is a part of, I mean, that is construction in and of itself, and that is, there's a lot that gets lost in that process. So once the building is built, do you then go back for another CUP, or are you doing that on your own?
We're not responsible for tenant finishes. The tenant is responsible for all tenant finishes, and we're responsible for developing the exterior of the building, the shell, and then the tenant will come in and they do all their own interior work.
So you're building the box.
Correct.
Any other questions? Good question.
I've got a question for Philip. How do we have those contractor general conditions, contractor's fee, and general liability insurance? Are we setting goals on everything that's left and it doesn't include those numbers?
Well, it's the total construction cost. Total gross construction cost is what we're looking at. And they just provided the, normally you would see this here kind of just roll out through the course of the project or the scope of work. Here they identified it, but it's the total construction cost is what they're asking for reimbursement for. So that's what the goals will be set on.
So for future, Dion, why are we looking at it if it doesn't add to our analysis? And the second question, Philip, these agency projects, do we have to use a different farm? Why can't we use the farms we normally use for all the other projects?
I was under the impression, Mr. Maven, that you all wanted to see what the developers were recommending and what HRD was recommending. And so
could we do that on the farm that we normally see? And while the developer agrees with HRD's assessment, I think it would be useful for us to know what their assessment is and what scopes we identified.
Sure. I mean, going forward, if you like to see them in that order, that I know what you're talking about, the estimated cost breakdown that you've seen just previously. If that's the board preference, we don't have a problem asking and revising the form to look that way.
Just for chagrins, if you were to pull out those non-construction items, I'm not talking about the items that they're receiving financing for, what would they look like?
So you mean if we were to pull out general conditions, contractor fee, and
yes,
bonds and insurance?
Yeah.
I mean, the overall construction cost would go down and the goals would then go up.
Absolutely.
I mean, the participation would be higher.
Yeah, and see, that's what I think the question did not state, but I think that was the intention of the question. Those are areas in which there is no participation by minorities or women. So when you throw those costs in there, then we have a goal that is much smaller than what we want to see on the actual participation of the project. Was that the question that was asked?
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, we're actually getting some participation in our general conditions in this case. Recently, we've been getting participation through general conditions.
Okay. For our edification, it would have been good, to have shown that as well. Philip, I believe you have a hand up.
No, sir, I didn't.
No,
okay.
I was going to add to answer Mr. Maven's questions. The reason why it's included is because the ordinance reads that 100% of the budget has to be taken taken in consideration for the actual goal. So, but that's why it's included.
So if that's true, then general conditions and all the rest of that is applicable and not applicable.
Right. Because there might be some minorities who want to bid on some of your general conditions.
In which case we would perfectly accept their bids. We're looking for 14% of the overall project and 10% of the overall project.
Okay. Board, do you see the rationale, or do you have any questions? If you're satisfied with it, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, just one last question.
Sure.
What is the contractor fee?
Brian, can you chime in here? Are you still on?
Contractor fee that I see on my budget is $201,000, $379.
Thank you, Dion. I didn't have that right in front of me.
Yeah, I can read that on this document. My question is, what is it?
What's it for?
It equates to approximately 5%. This is Brian. I'm with Fogel Anderson, the general contractor.
So is that your profit? What is the fee?
Yes. Fee is,
what's included in your fee?
It's another word for contractor profit. Yes.
Yes, that is strictly our fee, our profit.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Well, with all those things in mind, you have the ability to accept the goal that's here or put your own on. The project is up to you, board. It's in your hands.
Can I just ask if that contractor fee happens every time, and we just don't see it, or is this something different?
Yeah,
something unique to this project?
Contractor profit or contractor fee in every job.
Okay.
It's always there.
We just normally don't see it.
Not broken out as such.
Yeah, got it.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
You're a hand.
For the goals of 14 and 10.
Make a motion to accept the goals of 14 and 10? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's a goal there's a motion on the floor to accept the goals of 14 and 10. Is there a second?
Skip is trying to second, but I think his mic is muted.
Okay, we'll have to accept that. I heard another also, so for the record, there were 2 seconds of the motion to accept Adrian Foster's recommendation of 14 and 10. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. The goal is set at 14 and 10. Next project.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, this is Joel Taylor, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hutton was trying to speak. I think his mic is muted. Can someone communicate with him to unmute his mic?
This is Joel Taylor with the Aviation Department. Can you hear?
Yes. One moment, please.
Okay.
If you've got mic, please. Okay. Well, we still have a quorum, so we're going to move on.
All right. Next project we have is
Whoa, Dion. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Lohman?
Yes.
Joel Taylor has been on the phone trying to get his project and jumped over him because he didn't respond originally. So are we going to go back and allow him to participate?
Project Airport Parking Lot, project number 620531.
Yes.
Is Joel Taylor on the line?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Since you jumped over Joel, do you have time to wait for a moment?
Yes, I do. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Okay, fine. Because I want to alert alert Mr. Randolph. He may have stepped out. To
He's here.
Back.
I'm here, sir. Go right ahead.
All right. If you're here, we're going to go ahead here. Project number 62.
Mr. Malone, are you talking to me?
Yes, I am. Project number 62200531. Present it, please.
Okay. Park Air parking lot expansion. Estimated cost $3,109,675. And as you know, Mr. Joel Taylor, project manager with the aviation department, is here to present. Mr. Taylor, you have the floor to present your project to the board.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So the reason for this project is that the parking lot to the north is, the aviation department is paying someone else to use that, and we want to quit doing that. So we're going to add the same amount of spaces to the south of that and improve the canopy over there at Park Air Express. This project is located just northeast of the overhaul base.
This is the south of 112th Street?
No, it's more north of 112th Street off of Prairie View.
Okay. All right, I got you.
And if you go along Prairie View, turn right on Prairie View off 112th, you'll see a hotel. And then the next facility will be the Park Air Express building and parking.
All right, thank you. Go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. Aviation is recommending 13 and 8 in the areas of building demolition, painting, plumbing, and storm sewer in the area M. And in W, they're recommending work in the area of masonry, carpentry, roofing, and sheet metal, and painting and landscaping. HRD is recommending 13 and 9 with work to be done in building, demolition, carpentry, electrical. And on the W side, we're recommending work in masonry, plumbing, and landscaping for 9. And we found a couple of projects. Management of parking at 11th and Cherry, SP Plus. Original goal was 8, and 10W, the contract is still open. And the Swope campus parking lot with stormwater improvements, the cost was $3.7 million, done by Mega Industries. It closed in 2016. The original goal was 16 and 10, and they achieved 7 and 8. And again, HRD is recommending 13 and 9 with those changes in the respective trades. And that concludes our presentation for this project.
Thank you. Board questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Soigné.
If there being no other questions, I would move to accept HRD recommended goals of 13 and 9.
I'd like to second that.
It's been moved and second to accept HRD's recommendation of 13 and 9. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ayes have it. Conclude that project. Now, Dion, if you would step back up for your presentation on neighborhood North End project.
Yes, sir. Again, Dion Lewis, HRD, here to present the TIF project for neighborhoods, Northland neighborhoods. The recommended proposal budget is $675,410. Do I have anybody on the line from Northland neighborhoods to present?
This is Deb Herman.
I'm the CEO of Northland Neighborhoods. I think other members of our team, Mark McHenry, Amy Gray from A3G Architects, and Brad Weed from Centric. Are any of you there?
I'm here. It's Mark.
Did we lose the other? Is that you, Brad?
Yeah.
Yes, Brad.
Brad.
Correct.
Amy's here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Amy. Go ahead, please.
Who's going to present for you?
I believe Brad.
Brad, yeah, Brad's our contractor from the Centrix Projects, and he's going to talk. And then, as Deb said, Amy, who's our architect, is going to explain a little more detail on the project. And I believe the committee has copies of the documents that we forwarded. Is that correct, Dion?
Yes.
Okay. So Deb and myself are here to answer questions, and we'll let Brad talk about his company and how they're approaching this project.
Thanks, Mark.
Hello, Chairman and Board. This is Brad Wade. I'm project manager for Centric. This project is a tenant improvement project of an existing building. We've got participation from MBE and WBE. Right now we are sitting at 13% WBE and 9% MBE. Those scopes include for WBE are electrical work, fire protection, fire sprinkler, and final clean. For MBE, they are masonry and plumbing. I'll let the architect explain more about the actual project and the layout, the design, and the intent.
Sure, thank you. This is Amy Gray with A3G Architects, and this is an 11,363 square foot tenant finish in an existing vacant space in the lower level of the Antioch Shopping Center. It's the previous lower level of the Burlington Coat Factory, now Burlington, that's within that space. So it's a completely vacant shell at this point, still some ceiling grid in place and some old ductwork. This will be turned into the new offices for the Northland Neighborhoods, along with a couple of other departments for Kansas City, Missouri, including the health department. We have about a 3,000 square foot multi-purpose space that can be used as the boardroom, but also for other events in the Northland, which is kind of a gap that we've got up here in the Northland, as well as a handful of conference rooms that can be shared amongst the departments. There's going to be a full restroom, storage facilities. The tenant finish includes paint, rubber base, flooring, adding some windows to the space, new signage, etc. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Board questions? I'm going to give you a presentation. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So coming in, the developer's recommendations was, as she stated, as they stated, 9% MBE at roughly $64,000 and 13% WBE at roughly $86,000. HRD came in at a recommendation of 14 and 10 with the MBE dollar value a little over $96,000. And the WBE proposed dollar value of a little over $68,000.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? If there are no questions from the board, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Adrian. I'd like to make a motion of 14 and 10.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the HRD's goal of 14 and 10. Do I have a second?
Second, from Skip Hutton.
It's been moved by Adrian Foster to accept HRD's recommendation
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The recommendation of 14 and 10 has been accepted by the board. Thank you. This concludes the project for today. So at this point, we're going to go into other business. Thank all of you for participating from the project, from the departments. So we still have a board meeting going on. Other business. Are there any reports from Philip?
Is Ashley? Ashley, are you still on? Ashley, are you still there?
Ashley is listening. She can't, she couldn't dial in, so she's not able to participate.
Okay.
And Ed's screen just froze. So I think he's logging out to try to come back in.
Okay. Let's take while he's doing that, I'm going to ask the board if they could just take 5. Allow Ed to come back on. Is that okay?
Sure.
Me.
We'll come back in 5 minutes.
So for now, I'll get them from you in a minute, please. Okay, I'll get them from you in a minute.
I tried to do that thing, and I got off the screen. I hit the bottom button, but I still hear him. So just turn it off.
Make it back?
Yes.
Okay.
I got bumped off, sorry.
Hey, no problem. I took a 5-minute break. Give us time to get into other minutes and finish out out of respect of our senior member.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Are we on other business, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, let's check and make sure that everybody's back. Is Joseph there? Joseph Maben, are you still with us?
Somebody would contact Gabe because he had we checked today, we had the same number, so I'm sure he was trying to get in and never made it.
Okay.
Bob Lohman, I see your mic is muted. Skip Hutton, are you still with us? I took 5, so they still have a couple of minutes. Bridget Williams, are you with us?
I am.
Thank you.
You want to wait till the other folks get here?
Well, yeah, because Ed, I told him 5 minutes. I still got I got a minute and a half left.
Okay.
We have a quorum, but I'd rather.
Greetings, Madam Chair. That's Bridget.
Bridget's on board. I see Bob Lohman has not made it back.
Here, let me call Bob.
Okay.
I see Bob Lohman on. It's just he's muted. I don't see his video on either.
Yeah, neither do I.
Is someone logged in as Policy Consultant 51?
That's me.
Okay, sorry.
Someone gonna call Skip, or because he logged off.
I'll call Skip. Actually, I don't have Skip's number. I thought I did.
Hey, Bob, get back on the conference. You're ready to go. Thanks.
Philip, can you call Skip?
Yes, we can.
Can you do that and hold Joel on as well?
I'm gonna have to get one of my staff members because I don't know. I don't want to lose Mr. Maben.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if,
Get back on.
If someone could give me his number, I can do that.
Gotcha, man. All right.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is.
Hey, Bob, can you call Skip? Bob. Robert,
Yes, ma'am.
can you call Skip? Or text Skip?
And what, you want me to text him that we're back
To
on?
get back on? Yeah, he logged off.
Just bear with us. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer from time to time. We don't go this long ordinarily.
Just an FYI, I got about another 12 minutes and then I have to go pick up my
Hey,
son.
Skip, it's Ed. We're restarting the meeting, so you might get back on. Thanks.
Hopefully we should get through, Adrian.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got, I called Skip and left a message with him.
Okay, if you just let a message, hopefully
Yeah,
he'll.
whether he answers or not, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, somebody continue. We're going to go ahead and move on. So we moved into the area of other business before we announce our next meeting. So information. It's got a friends. You might have after.
You're breaking up, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I was going to say, we got the dogs in the background. If they just mute their phone for now.
So, Joe might get into the topic I'd like to discuss. Yes.
Mr. Malone is frozen in time, I think, on that screen.
No, can't you hear me? The question I'd ask on other business, did HRD have any other business that they wanted to discuss?
Oh, I didn't hear you, Mr. Malone. I'm sorry. We did not have anything else.
Okay. All right, that's what I want. That's what I wanted to hear. Anyone else have any other business?
I have other business to discuss, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Okay. I want to say, I don't know how many of you have been watching what's been going on over the last 3 or 4 weeks with respect to the latest airport contract. But from what I've seen, and I got to following it a little bit closer the last couple of weeks, my concern started to grow, particularly last week when a good portion of the debate centered around one of the subcontractors on for one of the proposers on the paving contract out at the airport. And in particular, one of the councilwomen made the comment that the subcontractor had been put on the proposer's list of WBEs to do concrete work, when in fact the concrete plant that was supposed to be used for the project had not been used, was in fact sitting in another contractor's yard unused. And you referred to me earlier as the senior guy on this. Well, that's myself and probably Skip Hutton, who were around when Emmanuel Cleaver set up the Fairness and Construction Board to begin with, to resolve through issues. And some of those issues that we dealt with over time were issues such as people claiming to be MBEs or WBEs, which were storefronts and were nothing more than a shell company just for pass-through monies. Okay, and it concerns me that one of the major items of discussion in City Council was a subcontractor whose credentials to do this type of work on a significant project in this city was being questioned, and openly questioned, to the point that it bothered me that I've been part of this process, that we're all part of this process, trying to maintain integrity in what's going on and openness in what's going on to further minority and female business owner participation in the city. Okay, and I think that has been called into question. How someone has come through this process to the point that it is a major point of contention at the city council level by the policy makers. And with those comments out of the way, I believe we need to have someone come in, an independent third party to come in and take a look at how MBE and WBE companies are being certified for scopes of work initially, that as that contractor goes through time and they say, hey, You know, I know I may have been doing this type of work, but now I think I can do this other type of work. How that process evolves, how it's approved and what have you. And I am going to, let me just perhaps make the motion after making those comments. I'll make a motion, and if it's seconded, we can discuss it further. But my motion is going to be to move to have the Furnace and Construction Board recommend to the mayor and city council, and I'll provide you with a copy of this, that an independent third party be retained to review and identify any deficiencies in the city's procedures and practices regarding MBE and WBE companies' certification of original scopes of work, including any subsequent modifications, changes, or additional scopes of work based on the contractor's expertise, work history, experience, and training. And further, that should any discrepancies be identified, the independent third party will propose remedies to correct the identified deficiencies.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion on the floor. I can't recite it all, but it's sure you have it in writing to put a motion before the mayor and city council to accept and to look into the concerned things that are in question. All in favor?
Can we have discussion?
Well, okay, we could do the discussion in the motion that Ed put it on the floor. He wanted to do it before a discussion, but we can have it for a discussion and then put a motion on the floor. Ed, are you still there? You dropped off the line.
I'm still here.
And will you restate what you said at first? I agree, we can have some discussions, but you put a motion out there. Typically, we do have some discussion before the motion goes to the floor.
Okay, I can.
You can have it either way, Mr. Chair. I mean,
Yeah.
you can do a motion in a second and then have discussion.
And then have discussion.
Yeah, we can have discussion after it's been seconded.
Well, it has been seconded. It was already seconded by Adrian Foster. I just wanted to know all in favor of the motion. Then we could go into the discussion.
You don't want to do discussion before you, or pass it before you do discussion, because the discussion can change whether or not you want to pass it.
Okay, let's back up. Let's move into discussion. Let's move to discussion before, it's been seconded, but let's move into discussion before we ask for approval or addition to the motion. I'd like to make a comment, Ed, before you go first. You are referring to Bartle Hall in 1990. Am I correct?
I'm referring to whom?
1990, when Emmanuel Cleaver was the mayor, Bartle Hall had to be rebidded because of contractors that hadn't performed work was listed as contractors to do majority participation.
It could have been that, Ray. There was, I know I had come through the doors of the heavies in July of 90, and there were already issues churning that had resulted in discussions, I want to say, between the heavy constructors and the Builders Association in filing a lawsuit against the city of Kansas City, Missouri. And Mayor Cleaver stepped into it and tried to get everybody to settle down and not start resolving issues in a court of law. And he proposed coming up with this Fairness and Construction Board.
Yes.
With representatives on it. So, yeah, and it may have been tied in with Bartle Hall, may have been tied in with a connected issue. So,
President Maben, are you still on the line? I'll get to you, Adrian.
Just for clarification, the job was rebuilt because Charles Hasley and Bobby Hernandez recommended a different contractor. When they didn't get what they wanted, they tried to kill the successful presenter, and they rebid it. The reason I know, I was a joint venture partner with Turner at the time.
Absolutely. I remember.
did it. But Ed is exactly right. It was to create some cohesion and avoid an ugly lawsuit.
Yes, yes. And that was 1990. That was during that time, Ed. So go right ahead with your discuss. Adrian had her in. I just wanted to clarify around the starting of the Furnace and Construction Board and part of the background that led up. They brought it out to avoid a lawsuit. The board was established. Go ahead, Adrian.
Well, I would just say that, I've been very busy in the last, for sure, 30 days, but that I have been really engaged actually with what's been going on with KCMO, because I've heard from other MWBEs who are talking about and very upset about what Ed is referring to. And it's very disheartening to know that it is a WBE who is saying that they can do all these different scopes, and it's really out of control right now, in my opinion, that someone who, let's just say, goes from plumbing to concrete, why not just become a GC? So, and then to list out the various different scopes, my understanding is that once you apply, you have to show that you've done at least so many projects. And so when a person is unhappy who's already been tied to a contract, doesn't get what they want, goes back to the council, then tries to redo it. That is what takes the integrity of our program down a very bad path. And that is why I specifically second that motion, because something needs to get cleaned up here. Our program is going to be at risk. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Adrian.
So let me just say, I have been very engaged in this. This is Bridget. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Can I speak?
Sure, go right ahead. You got the floor.
That I've been very engaged in this project, in this issue, from the standpoint both of the heavies and trying to protect Philip and the integrity of this program. And I think what has happened in this project has put HRD in a horrible position, in that there were so many different pieces of this that occurred, that one, you have a WBE that is certified under three different contractors under 58 different NACE codes, when the average is between 12 and 15. That's number one. And then we find out that not only is said contractor contracted or certified under these NACE codes, but then she is a subcontractor with the owner's rep on the airport. So there's cement, there's plumbing, and now she's a staff agency. And this is one thing that discredits the WBE participation and the legitimacy of the WBEs. But while all that is happening, and I don't know if it all happened while Philip has been HRD or some happened before, while this has all happened, you then have questions under who is actually the certifying body of the city. And I think the Fairness Board, we as members of the Fairness Board need to stand up and absolutely say, HRD, under the leadership of Philip Yelder, is the certifying organization for the city. And two things need to happen with this. One is we need to make a recommendation that HRD has its has its policies and procedures in place where where Philip has the cover to stand up and say whatever it is, and that HRD is less politicized. The second piece is we need to this is also an education for us, because I don't necessarily understand how certifications occur, particularly when you're talking about requirements that are under the authority that require, like, manufacturing cement. So you're not just buying a truck. This is actually about the materials and the understanding of manufacturing cement. And then what those different NACE codes mean. So I don't know if there's a third-party organization that can come in and help us do this, but I think absolutely at a minimum, this has the potential to water down the roles and responsibilities of HRD if we don't, as a board, stand up and do something that protects the integrity of the program.
I agree. Philip, do you have anything you want to add?
Mr. Maven, Mr. Malone, Mr. Maven was trying to make a comment, and then I'll come back to you, sir.
All right, go right ahead, Joseph. I didn't understand you.
Bridget, I was saying you shouldn't be able to diminish HRD's responsibility in a development agreement. I mean, CUP ought to be the determination of Philip and not somebody else, whether or not a commercially useful function is being performed. So I just agree with what you said.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. I think we all agree. Commercial use of function is a huge portion of the program. Go ahead, Philip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So as it's been articulated by all the various board members, the last 30 days has been very challenging for the department, and, you know, trying to respond to various council members and their positions on these here. And there is no win scenario in our regards in terms of how that happens, because no matter what we have said, for some it's okay, and for others it's not enough. So as we're kind of caught in this dilemma here. But as Bridget has indicated, what we're trying to do is put the facts out and constantly put the facts out. Our story has not changed in terms of what's eligible and what's not eligible. And so with that being said, I mean, if it's the board decision to move forward with having, I don't know if you, I know we have a DBE. I know we have a DBE auditor that's coming in towards the end of the year to audit our process, given the fact that we are due to DBE certification, and we are recipient of federal funds, FTA funds specifically for streetcar. They come in every so often and audit our process to see if we're following DBE regs. Other than the city auditor, that's the last person that has audited our process. That was back in, I think, 2008, 2009. So they have the authority, or, you know, they are granted the authority by the city manager or whomever to come in and look at our process and procedure to see, you know, how that's being carried out. So it's, if you're saying third party, that's probably where it would probably end up going if it, you know, we move that direction, is the city auditor would come in and look at that process. Anything outside of the DBE program, those are the two entities that I can think of. Obviously, the council could probably approve some law firm or some large accounting firm or something of that nature that does audits to come in and look at the process and procedures. That would be something that I think would, I guess you could say, would be a neutral body or neutral entity that could make that happen. I'm just thinking some names, just not for say recommending like KMG or something like that, or some of those large accounting firms. And it doesn't have to be a large one. It could be something smaller than that, like some of the ones that does the audit on the city's financial documents and financial transactions that we do. So I think it would probably be just left up to the mayor and council to determine where that entity, how that entity would be put together. But I do appreciate Bridget's support and all of you all support over the last couple of days, because it has been very challenging for staff as well as myself, you know, and just to hear some of the comments. But we're going to do our very best to make sure that, you know, we respond to the council members and to the mayor, to whomever asks, what we're able to respond to. When I say that, there are certain things about certification and about individuals' records that we're prohibited from discussing, but those that we are factually can produce, we will produce those.
I got a question on certification of NACE codes for any contractor. We don't have to be into any particular one. What are the requirements? What are the standards for the certification of a change in NACE code? And I'm going to put it out there. I'm not going to name a contractor. Say, what is the requirements for a concrete supplier?
So
for a NACE code.
For a concrete supplier, we would first, they would have to be a supplier. In order, that term supplier for us would mean they have a concrete facility that supplies concrete. I think so. There's a equipment that they have to have that supplies concrete. They are selling concrete. We would go out, we do a site visit to make sure that they have equipment. Verification of payroll. We ask for certified payrolls to make sure that they have workers and individuals on their payroll that's doing that. We ask for copies of the workers' comp insurance, make sure that the workers' comp is covered under that. We ask for copies of contract invoice showing where they've sold concrete to individuals or to companies. Part of the regs is that not only do they sell to commercial firms, but they have to have like a storefront or something like that where for a supplier now, where an individual can walk in and purchase the concrete.
What about manufacturing? I mean, the sand, et cetera, that goes into the concrete plant to supply.
Sand and gravel.
Well, so in something like that, we would see where they have a relationship with the entities that you named. Somebody supplies the sand, somebody supplies the gravel, where they purchase this material from these individuals.
What about the facility to put all of that together to be able to deliver it as concrete? What would they have to do to satisfy you as HRD to be certified as a plant supplier?
They would have to have documentation that they have this material. I'm sorry, they have the equipment. They have owned the equipment. Now, this is where it gets kind of gray area, because the way that the regs work to encourage and just listen, to encourage minority women participation, the regs does allow a firm to lease equipment. For example, and I'll get back to your particular point, Mr. Malone. For example, a trucking company can actually lease trucks from another entity, let's say a Caterpillar or some Freightliner or some large firm, Volvo or something. They can actually lease it, but they have to pay the preferred rates, whatever that lease rate would be. They have to provide insurance, things of that nature, just like if they own the truck. Now, with this one here, with the concrete, individual can lease a facility and provide documentation that they have signed a lease agreement, just like they go into a building or something and lease rental space. So it does provide those types of avenues or methods that they can engage in that business activity. Where I think, without going to all the specific of this particular case here, I think that as has been out there in public. This individual has a plant that is still in the backyard of another general contractor. So I know that has been the one of the questions and one of the areas that a lot of concern has been expressed, as Mr. Deswanier mentioned there. So that's basically, Mr. Malone, how the process works in terms of suppliers. Obviously, for like construction material suppliers, you know, they have warehouses, things of that nature where you go in, we see materials on the floor or on racks, things of that nature. We have paint suppliers, people who sell paint to commercial as well as residential. Again, we go to, there's a warehouse sometime where they have the paint stored. We go in there, we can see it, we take pictures. And so they provide us with documentation where they're selling to commercial contractors, residential contractors to satisfy the code requirements.
But I think on this particular issue, where it gets grainy is, so there's a NACE code. There's 5 different areas under this NACE code. It's ready mix, it's temporary, it's paving, so there's 5 different, and then it's a specific manufacturing plant, a specific plant. So when you get to that component and you hear testimony actually from the contractor last week that said her plant, she will be operating the same plant that is currently at the airport right now. That's on video, which is a central mixing plant, which is the only one that she is not certified in. I think by those words, by her own words, there's no argument that she's not certified. However, when you get to the other 4 areas and you start talking about a temporary mixing plant, I think there needs to be a clear understanding of what those NACE codes are, because there's some real shenanigans, not only with this project, but potentially within other areas going on that put this program at risk. And then you have an attorney from another department send a letter that says that she is certified. And I think we need to be clear that HRD is the only department in the city that can declare whether or not someone is certified.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Agree.
Are they accept any other certifications out there other than yours under the city project, Philip?
No, sir, Mr. Malone. We're the only certified agency for the airport and for the city of Kansas City, Missouri. And to go back to part of what Bridget was talking about, so there are 5, let's say, categories under the next code, 327, 320. And central mix is 1, transit mix is 1, concrete batch plants 1, ready mix, and then truck mix is the 5. So the individual company in question is certified in 3 of those, and they are not certified in central mix concrete manufacturing. And so we have expressed that to the mayor and to the council, you know, that she's not. Now, I think I don't know that how Edgemore or CWC is gonna work on this, but the specifications, if we wanted to get into that, is that we were asking what is the specification in the bids in terms of what the, because typically when you get to this type of contract, there's a clear specification in the bid documents that says this is the type of concrete, or this is the type of equipment we need to complete the job. That was missing from this particular solicitation here. And so what was in there, and you
No, it is in there. It was in there.
Well, and they keep telling me that it is not, and I'm not arguing with you, but I'm just saying they keep telling me, because I've asked them several times to tell me, and they said, well, we did not put this in the bid specs. And so I hear what you're saying, Bridget, and and I've asked this question to them even in writing, and they have not said that this was a particular area that they identified. And I think that would help this discussion. I know it would help this discussion, but that has not been addressed.
Well, the fact is that what's going on is that the system is being gamed. All right.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. All this, separate from all this stuff about NACE codes and subcodes and all this stuff, people are gaming the system, and the end result is going to be, it's going to splash back on the city, on the industry, on everybody who's involved in this process, who has worked hard over the last 30 some years to make sure that we've got a program that's functioning in this city. And that's why I moved this motion, because for whatever reason, this slipped through the cracks, and it's going to get worse. And right now, the main idea is to send a message to the mayor and council that we're aware of it, just like they are, while this process is being sorted through as to who's going to do the work at the airport. So,
well, and I think to add to that, I think this committee, this board needs to strongly say that, and I'm just thinking out loud, for an attorney of a department that has a vested interest to then send a letter under his own signature that determines whether or not a contractor is certified in a specific area is just flat out inappropriate. And so, you know, and I see that Dustin is on the call. I just think there should be nothing that goes out regarding a certification or decisions under HR regarding HRD that are not under Philip's signature or the attorney that is dedicated to HRD.
Mr. Chair.
Bridget, if you could tell, this is Dustin, which attorney sent that letter, I guess?
I believe it was Galen.
I mean, need to look into that. I'm extremely deferential to Galen, and I think if that was submitted, it was probably because he was told that. But I will certainly look into it.
And my point is,
he understands it. He understands that it's Philip's call. Who's certified?
So my point is, Galen or Dustin, whether or not he was told that, HRD, just in and of the nature of the work that they do, needs to have the ability, and this is not my word, or this is not their word, this is mine, to not be terrorized by different departments or the council for those departments. As Philip said, they are in a no-win situation to begin with. Somebody's going to be mad on either side. So to have an attorney that is not assigned to that area to that department, I just think it's sending the wrong message.
I guess I feel a little like I need to defend Galen. He is the attorney assigned to the airport.
So yes, he's assigned to the airport, but he is not assigned to HRD. And so when you go ask the question of whether or not someone is certified, he is doing that to defend whatever decision aviation has made, not what decision, if there's a conflict there. And maybe I'm not doing a good job of communicating what I'm trying to say, but it would be like, to me, a labor attorney coming in to say, we found our union submitted this grievance and I determined my union is right, rather than the neutral party that's designated to determine whether or not the grievance was correct. Adrian, I see you trying to speak up. Chair, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead. If you're through, Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree with Bridget, and I think Dustin probably understands, but I think what I would like to do is, I know we have a motion, we have a second, we're having great discussion. However, I have got to get off, and I don't want to get off, but I have to. But here's the deal. I think we need to send a letter that is signed by the board or by actually our chair. But if we could draft that letter and if we could all look at it to give our input, because I believe what Bridget is saying is very important and to the process. And I believe that we should give Dustin the opportunity to talk to Galen. And there is definitely some miscommunication going on, because HRD, based off of the ordinance of the MWBE, has the sole responsibility to have that authority, not any other attorney in any other spot, even if it's the airport. So I just would like to see if we are ready to vote on the motion, but also have like an asterisk on the motion that if there's a letter that can be drafted that we can see, that we can provide some input on, so that.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Thank you, Adrian. Let me ask this, Ed, if you're able to draft a letter and get it out, could we, since we do these by virtue, could we call for a meeting for next week to review over that? Could you get that out to us to look at for a motion? I'm asking this of Ed DeSoignier.
That would be fine. What I would like to do, though, before we adjourn, would be take action on the motion.
I think it's been second. Set the motion that Ed put together. Any other questions?
I would just add that Philip, Dustin, if you have it, or Philip, would you send Dustin a copy of the letter that was sent by Galen?
I can email the board members that.
And Dustin.
As well as Dustin.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Beautiful.
Mr. Chairman, I move my motion.
I second it.
It's been moved and second to accept the motion that's proposed by Ed DeSoignier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh.
Opposed?
I take my eye back.
It was on there.
Chris.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Ed, you will get that to us. Now, let me ask the board this. Today is Wednesday. 13th. On the 20th, which is a week from today. Did you get that to us? So we might view it.
I'll try to get it to you by Monday or Tuesday.
Do you not think that it would be more effective if the entire board, collaborates and sign off on this?
Yeah.
Next Thursday, there's a construction workforce board meeting in the morning.
Okay, you think you might be available by 2? Bob?
I
Right.
don't know. Ask the chair of the Construction Workforce Board.
Who would that be?
Bridget. All right,
We'll
I'm gonna
definitely
leave
be
you
done
guys.
by.
Whenever you guys said it, I'll be there.
Okay, thanks, Adrian.
Thank
We'll
you.
be done
All
by.
right. Very
So
good.
We'll
Rich,
definitely,
you'll
we'll be
so-
definitely be done by 2, but I
Yeah,
just
but-
wanted to ask that, so the council meets on Thursdays, the committees meet on Wednesday. Is this something that we would want to have done before next Thursday's meeting?
I think so. I think so. I think time is of the essence.
you think we need to move the date up, Ed? Can you get it ready sooner?
I can get it, try to get it to you by
Monday?
Monday. Yeah.
Monday. Okay, then let's look forward to having the meeting on Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll work.
Okay, so if a notice could go out, since this is a board meeting and that, this doesn't have to have public approval, it's not does it?
I believe, Mr. Chairman, anytime you all have a quorum for a discussion of a fairness board, it has to be publicly documented and noted with the city clerk. We have to do that 24 hours before your meeting, so I would have to set the meeting. I would have to send a public notice no later than Monday, whatever time you all decide. If you're going to do 2 o'clock Tuesday, have to have it published by Monday noon.
Cannot the board have a meeting with as our attorney, a sidebar without going through a public meeting? Can we do this as a sidebar with our attorney?
Dustin is
You
on
can
the
do a closed session, but it still would need to be noticed.
Publish
If
it.
if there are legal issues to discuss.
Publish it, get it out. Can you get it out in time?
Yeah, we got time.
Okay.
2 o'clock on Tuesday?
2 o'clock on Tuesday.
So we'll to be clear, Mr. Chair and members of the board, we'll publish a notice with the city clerk that the Fairness Board will have a meeting Tuesday, and that will be just one item. Looks like you all will be discussing, which is, I don't know, help me out here, Dustin. Do we have to say what the item is, or can we just say it's just a discussion of the airport?
What is the legal issue that we're talking about on Tuesday, I guess?
The legal issue that we're talking about is contractor certification.
Yep.
Who gets to decide whether or not a contractor is certified in a particular scope?
Yeah, it's contractor MBE, WBE certification.
Yeah, we don't have to get into detail. That's enough right there.
And it's not just the airport, it applies to everything else.
Yeah.
Consistency in how we judge and qualify contractors.
So just for the head and the item would be just contractors MWBE certification then?
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll need some numbers, Philip, because this is the third time I haven't been able to get in. And Gabe's still out there too. He couldn't get in, so.
Okay, I will get with staff to see what was the problem with this one here. I seen the note, the date had 4/9 on it, so I'm not sure if that's what was causing it or not.
Joe, maybe you're gonna have to get rid of that flip phone finally.
No, we just need to do a GoFundMe for these guys so they can get like a laptop or something.
Get him a doggone iPad.
Yeah.
No, give him no iPhone or iPad. He's the smart. Okay, third. Our next on the agenda is our next meeting is, with the exception of the side for a regular board meeting, is September the 10th. For a regular board meeting is September the 10th to hear projects. If there's nothing else before this board, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.